Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Feeling and Healing podcast. I am your host, Danielle Z, MFT in the making, motivator, and mental health maven. And today I am so happy to welcome Amy Jones to the show. So, welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Danielle.
Yeah,
Thank you.
me too. I'm happy to have you. Amy is a certified nutrition practitioner as well as a certified ADHD coach. And she has 2 decades of experience in education, and she specializes in supporting adults, teens, and families with ADHD, helping them build practical, sustainable systems for food, energy, and regulation. So that is such, I think, a unique niche, and I would just love to hear what inspired you to connect, ADHD and ADHD with nutrition.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, and I think it started with mental health in general. I
Hmm.
think for my
Hmm.
own journey, especially as a young girl specifically, who was diagnosed with anxiety very early on in my teens. And then that's sort of what it was managed as. It was
Mm.
anxiety. It was anxiety there. And then in my 20s, it became anxiety and then depression. And then it
Mm.
became anxiety and borderline personality disorder. Also, who made up
Really?
that term? Yes. And
Wow.
and then it was all of the therapy around all of these things. And it was all of the medication around all of these things, which I think, and I don't want to say ADHD is the root of this, but I think it's part
Mm.
of the bigger picture, right? We never know. It's always more than one thing. But I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was 45. My
Yeah, you're an
youngest,
adult diagnosis. Yeah.
yeah, the very late. And I think a lot of that has to do with like hormones fluctuating for sure. And I
Mm.
started to notice things that were different. But then when my youngest son was diagnosed with ADHD and autism spectrum disorder, he's level
Mm.
1. So he's
Okay.
it's more it's I think it's like the social piece for him
Mm.
is a struggle, like the and a lot of like RSD and other things. But he once that happened, I was like, oh, this is me. And I understood the hereditary piece of it.
Mm.
Um, I had been a teacher for a very long time, and it just wasn't working. I burnt out multiple times. I had to take time off
Mm.
work.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a lot, and I didn't know what was going on, and I couldn't understand. And it was always the self-blame piece where it was like,
Mm.
there is something wrong with me. I am not good enough. I can't do the things that everybody else can do. The shame around that, um, enormous. And my
Absolutely.
gosh, I just want to go back and like hug, that version of me and just say, it's okay. You're going to figure this out. This is not you. This is just,
Yeah.
you are living in a world that is literally the opposite of what your brain understands how to
Hmm.
function in. Like, uh,
Yeah.
it's profound. And so what a gift it was to me. Yes, I grieved a lot actually around finally getting, and I had to battle for this diagnosis, let me tell you, for ADHD.
Really.
Yes, because my psychiatrist, who I'd worked with for years and years and years, the majority of my life, was like, no, I don't see it because I'm a
Mm.
woman. And I did really well at school, and I looked
Hmm.
like I was functioning every day. And
Mm.
yes, emotional dysregulation was an enormous piece of this, but that was anxiety, that was depression, that was BPD.
Mm.
It wasn't ADHD.
Yeah.
And I was a daydreamer, and I'm super creative, and there were so many other pieces, and I wasn't like jumping around the room like all the boys were who were being
Yes,
diagnosed with
yeah, it presents
ADHD.
differently in different genders for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So that was like, just what a gift it was to have this, because it gave me license to, and just like self-aware, just to learn and take the time to understand, like, what is this and why is this so hard? And I was
Hmm.
able to take that step back and figure that out. And so, blew up my career. I don't want to say blew up. It was wonderful. I made a transition, went back to school. I started
Yeah.
to see, and a lot of that has to do with just, I've always had to move my body because that's how my brain works best. If I move my
Hmm.
body, then my brain works. I've always understood that, and I've always done it. So I've been interested in health and wellness, and I started to notice, even with my children, they're the ones who sort of, spurred me on with this. But if we ate regularly, if we, made sure we had a balance of things
Mm-hmm.
in throughout the day, then all of us stayed a little bit more emotionally regulated throughout the day.
Absolutely. Makes
And
sense.
it was so simple. So I was like, okay. So I went back to school to for the functional nutrition piece, and it was amazing. All of the things that I understood. I started my own business. I went, worked and really niched down. It took me a little while, but I niched down to this sort of ADHD neurodivergence piece,
Mm-hmm.
and I like real things were amazing, and then other things were awful. Like
Mm-hmm.
people, and I'm saying people, but I mean me too, and also my kids. Like there was this barrier between we know, so maybe somebody is low in magnesium or zinc or B vitamins or whatever. Like that's how we work sort of as nutritionists. We're looking at all of these things, but
Mm-hmm.
you can know all of the things that you should do, but it's the how. How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where I was like, this is enormous. And there's something
Mm-hmm.
here that I can't understand and I don't know how to support people with, even with years in education. And that's what I did as an educator was like
Yeah, yeah, you taught people how
teach,
to do things. Yeah.
yeah, and like how to figure out access, right? Access
Mm-hmm.
into whatever the task was in that setting. And so I could do it there. Well, I mean, I don't think I did it perfectly, but like there was something else, but there's something missing here, especially in terms of health and wellness. And so again, I went back to school because I can't stop. I can't. I don't know how to do that.
Excuse me.
And then
I'm the same way. I love to learn.
yeah, yeah. And I know, especially now as a coach, like understanding strengths and values like that, the
Mm-hmm.
love of learning for me is
Oh
it's
yeah.
like
If I'm not
literally my
learning,
number
yeah,
one value. It's number one over
growth
everything else.
mindset. Yep.
Yeah,
I totally understand.
yeah, I know you do. um
I'm like,
so
I always tell myself, I'm like, because like I'm in my master's program right now. I'm like, Danielle, do you
mm,
get the PhD? I'm like, just get through the master's first,
yeah,
and
and then
then
we'll
see.
figure that
Let's
way.
readdress after you get the master's, you know?
Yeah, but you have to temper that. Like I'm with you.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Yeah.
right? Doing my
It's a
master's too,
real
and it's like,
thing.
yeah,
And I will
on the
share with you, I
way.
just wanted to pause for a second and give
Yeah.
you a lot of kudos and credit and just like compliment you on being your own advocate with your mental health. Because
Hmm.
as a mental health professional in training, I think a lot of people go into our rooms and they are like, what do I have? But you know your body best. You know I don't live it like, like I'm looking at from like an outsider's looking in. Like you can tell me everything, but you know yourself best. And you're
Yeah.
maybe meeting somebody. Of course, you had this relationship with the psychiatrist for years, so they got to know you. But I'm really happy to hear that you advocated for your mental health. And
Hmm.
it worked out for you because that's very brave.
It's so difficult. And
Yeah,
this is the thing,
especially in the
like,
system when these doctors and people are telling you like no, 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 but you're like something isn't right here.
mhm. It's that like I don't want to say gaslighting, but it is. It's kind of like
No, I mean, yeah, and I
you
will
know,
share, like, I mean, as somebody who's like, so I'm going to be trained, I'm training to be a marriage and family therapist. We actually do not believe in diagnosing, believe it or not, but that's a whole other podcast.
I love that.
But
I love that. I know we need to talk more
We're
about that.
very
Yeah.
non-pathologizing. For short terms, we believe that it's very systemic thinking. So, if you
Mhm.
have a symptom, something is going on in your environment, a relationship that's causing that symptom. It's not that you have a disorder. Um, I think, and this is just my little spiel, and I'll keep it very short here. I was like one sentence. Diagnosing is for the insurance companies, period. That's it.
Mhm.
Like, and I mean, I could go down a rabbit hole there, but we'll stop there. But I mean, I'm happy to hear that your diagnosis was validating and because I know for some people it's not. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm labeled as this and I have to work with my identity now that I have this diagnosis and it's very hard to work through that.
Yes. Oh, I love all of that. I don't even know where to
Yeah,
start. I
it's
love all of it.
yeah, it's yeah. So I didn't mean to just throw you that bomb, but like it's
Yeah.
very because it like because it's like saying like I think it's funny. I think well I know you live in Canada, but we're very
Mhm.
close to the United States. But I find it's like very like cultural because in I think I was talking to somebody before or like earlier this week, and when you say like when in Canada, I'm sure in America definitely, but in Canada too, I'm sure when somebody asks you like Amy, what do you do? What do you say?
Oh, that's a hard question. Like it literally is, I'm doing the work of, honestly, I don't even know what I would say. That's a huge question. It's more about the nutrition piece, but I'm actually helping you how to figure out how to get the nutrition in you. Like that's what
Got
I do.
it. Oh, the only reason, okay, I was saying, and I wasn't saying that to challenge you, but it's
No,
like
I know, but that
you
was
go,
great.
you
I
go, and
appreciate
me
it.
too, me too. We go to our career, right? We go to what we like our vocation, right? In
Yes.
Europe, in Europe, you ask, what do you do? They're like, oh, we like to plant, we like to garden, we like they don't go towards their voc. That's not the, like so life to them is not their job. So that's what I guess the metaphor, I guess the similarity to like diagnosing in your identity. Like it's like it could be that ingrained that like you for the rest of your life you're like, oh my God, and you're almost sometimes people unfortunately are crippled by their diagnoses. And it's sad when that happens. But then other people like you are empowered by it. It gives them peace of mind, and this is like they know how to make a plan then, from the
Mm.
diagnosis. So it's not all bad. I'm just saying there's many different experiences that people have with diagnosing.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point too, because I'm 1000% with you. I just, PCOS,
Yeah.
polycystic ovarian syndrome, was just
That's
relabeled to PMOS.
I
And
know. So my so funny. My
yeah.
friend just literally like maybe like a month ago, we were at
Mhm.
my me and my friends were sitting at dinner, and my friend said that she was just diagnosed with PCOS, and then my friend was like, "Oh, do you know it's PMOS?" And I was like, "I've known nothing about this." Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's like uh polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome. So it's
okay.
now been actually recognized for what it actually is. So anyone who ends up, and I see this a lot, and I talk about this a lot too, that PCOS, now PMOS,
Mm-hmm.
there's actually a significant correlation, or like, I don't know, not correlation, but just I see these two things co-occurring
Mm-hmm.
regularly in my practice
Mm-hmm.
because it's a metabolic
Mm.
issue.
Disorder or issue,
Yeah,
yeah.
and this is where ADHD comes in too, because our metabolic system is inconsistent. So that just means, when I say metabolic, it just means energy. It just means like how we get
Mm.
energy into our cells is not always consistent. How we get energy into our brain is not always consistent, but it's designed that way on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so often we see an overlap with PMOS and
Mm.
ADHD because of that metabolic thing. Um,
Interesting.
and because of some of those hormone imbalance, and I don't want to say imbalance, it's not just like fluctuations.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Inconsistencies, maybe.
yes, inconsistencies. So I think that is a huge piece, and I don't even know what I was talking about. I've just lost my train of thought. But
It's okay. You're
but I
talking about
think that's huge.
PMOS
Oh
and
no,
how
no,
it's
I know
related
why.
to ADHD and how
Yeah,
a lot of people that you work
yeah,
with have both. And yeah.
yeah. And I think what I was getting at here too is that has just been redefined.
To
Again, always
being
about this.
metabolic. Yeah.
Yes, and the ADHD, like in terms of attention deficit, is totally, absolutely upside down wrong. We have so much attention. The
Yeah.
problem is not about not having enough. It's actually it's a struggle for us to figure out where to put it,
Exactly. Yep. And
right?
I love that you said that because it's not a deficit. Like, and
No.
so I guess how I relate to ADHD because I'm not, sometimes I am a little impulsive, but for the most part, I'm pretty like, I'm a little type A. So like, I'm very organized. I'm very like regimented.
Mhm.
But I relate that to when people say like, I'm too sensitive. And it's like, no, I just have more empathy than you. Like, I'm not trying to
Yes.
be mean, but it's like stop. Don't make what I have a deficit. It's actually a
Yes.
strength. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean, once again, I didn't come up with the term ADHD, but I never have met like a neurodivergent or ADHD or and I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're at a deficit. It's just you need more focus on where to put your energy.
Yeah. And it's understanding that, like, structurally in our brain, we are built
Hmm.
differently, like literally,
Hmm.
biologically, physiologically, we
Yes,
are built
yes,
differently.
exactly,
Things are
exactly.
different sizes, things are, there's lots of different parts of things. And chemically, our chemicals move in a different way. And
Mm-hmm.
all of us are different. Like some of us have, we I know we talk a lot about dopamine. Some of us don't make enough dopamine. Some of us,
Mm.
here I am saying don't make enough. It's actually like it's just more about the consistency thing, or sometimes it just doesn't necessarily get absorbed by the next neuron in the right way, or in a way that is helpful in terms of, doing something that might be harder. So like task initiation might look like that. Like I can't do something that's hard. That's what I hear a lot.
Mm.
Can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when we start to understand it from the point of view of, but your brain is structured like this for a reason. So what is this telling you? This is
Mm-hmm.
data.
This is
To me, it's
information.
always
Yep.
data. This is
It's
information.
information. Yep.
Like what's going on here? What's hard about this? How do we, if you have to do it, how do we make it easier? If you
Mm-hmm.
don't, so I just had this conversation this morning with a wonderful client of mine, and she was like, but I don't think properly until like after lunch. And I was like, great. So let's put all the hard stuff
After lunch.
after
Exactly.
lunch. Like,
Yeah. There you go.
right.
Yeah.
So there's those pieces. And then even around, and then definitely obviously, around food.
Mm-hmm.
Food is not one thing. Food is a million different tasks that require so much of our prefrontal cortex, of our executive function, the planning, oh my gosh, the everything, the planning, the decision making, so many pieces of it that we think are just one task, but it's actually like 18 or 20 or 25, depending on what it is. And then we have to clean everything up. And
Mm-hmm.
so we don't, especially if this is something that is not like, gosh, I'm a nutritionist. Like I love cooking,
Food. Yeah. Yeah.
but I can't do that on certain
Mm.
days because
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the capacity for it,
Get it.
because my executive function, or I get into that decision fatigue thing. Like if I've
Mm.
been really drained that day, I know I cannot, I'm not making the meal and looking at a recipe. I hate recipes also.
I had too
Um,
many steps, right?
too many. Well, and it's also the toggling back and forth. Like I just want to strangle. I hate it. I don't want to use
Yeah,
I
I would. I mean, I
use it.
think for
But
me,
like
I'm
the
not a
person
huge
who,
recipe
oh
fan, but it's for a different reason. It's because I'm a rule breaker.
yes.
It's for a totally different.
Also,
I'm always like, the rules are
yeah,
meant to be broken. I'm one of those people I'd rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission, and I
yes,
like to be
please
creative
do
and
that.
free, and that's why I also don't like baking because I'm like too many steps. I need to follow the rules.
Mhm.
No, like not doing that.
Yeah, the chemistry of baking is like a whole other thing,
Yeah,
and
no, no, it's too
that's
precise for
difficult.
me. It needs to, I'm like,
Yeah,
I just need want to like throw something in a pot and do what I need to do,
yeah,
or a big pan.
yeah, and the recipe thing, and and especially as a nutritionist, like everybody comes to me and they expect a meal plan. I'm like, no, we don't do that, because
Mm,
just giving you a recipe is going to increase your stress hormone levels, because
absolutely, your
you
cortisol.
have to
Yep, yep.
toggle between the instructions, and this is what I really struggle with. So like step one, so here's number one, this, you do this, you turn on the oven, blah blah blah, then you add the whatever ingredient is, and I'm like, well, how much of that do I add? And then I got to toggle over to the ingredients, and I got to find whatever that is. So you just made me do three other things, even though it was supposed to be one thing. And so we never
Mhm.
like we never really appreciate that. Whoever decided that recipes should be laid out like this was not neurodivergent. Okay, let me just
Clearly
tell you
not.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No. And so this back and forth thing, this, we call it toggling, is
Hmm.
it's really difficult. And then if
For
I
neurodivergent
always
people.
like, yeah, and then there's a lot of blame in that, like, why can't I just do this, or I can't figure this out.
Mm.
So it's really thinking about how do we break some of those things down for someone who has the capacity and wants to do that recipe that they found and somebody sent them, or whatever it is. um, and then how do we throw out recipes, not even think about them,
Yeah.
and build something that is actually, it's more about accessible, right? It's just like accessible nourishment. How do we build that? So that's kind of like where I live. I don't even know what we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about before,
Well,
but like,
also too, no, but I think it's great because unfortunately we live in a system with anything, right?
mhm,
Recipes, learning, where like the whatever the majority does, whatever however they learn, however they act, that's how we teach it, or that's what's then kind of produced, or that's what's the word I'm trying to think of. Like that's what's like accepted, and then we just mass produce like recipes this certain way so people like you can't manage them. And that's not like, I think like we do that with a lot of things, learning, we do that, like, oh yeah, we all learn differently, so we should all be maybe a little bit more individualized, but we kind of bucket us all in this one thing, and whatever the
Mhm.
majority, however they learn or however they act, that's how we teach. I do know from being in education,
Mhm.
you
I
know
think I have a wonderful mentor, Jeff Copper, who his favorite, I think I've heard this analogy so many times from him, but it makes, I think it changed my life when he said it, because he said, for those of us who may have eyesight, who isn't perfect, we are given glasses.
mm-hmm.
For those of us with, maybe it's, ADHD, it's whatever form of
Whatever, yeah.
neurodivergent, we don't we don't
We
get
don't you don't
glasses.
get that. Exactly,
So
exactly.
like we have to walk around in the world. Imagine,
You're navigating the
like we're
world
always
without
just like a
glasses.
little, yeah, we're always just like a little, like everything's just a little harder. Like I can't quite see that. I can't quite do that. Like what? And then we blame ourselves because we don't have those accommodations, and we don't, no one
Mhm.
understands those accommodations or what we need.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
those accommodations are so, they're so specific to each human. Like, because my ADHD is different than my son's, and like, and whoever else. Like, it's so different, and it makes it so complex and difficult. I get that. But it's also like, he also uses the analogy of stairs. Like,
Mm,
so if we have to get up to the second floor, if we can't jump to do that, so we have stairs to do that. That's
mhm.
that's an
Yeah, yeah. That's why you
accommodation,
have
right?
stairs.
Like
Yeah.
glasses are an accommodation to get you to the point where you can function. But we are not given this in our everyday life. So we're walking through the world, burning through, this is the physiological point of it, all of the nutrients that we need to make energy, which is like our
Hmm.
B vitamins, and then our minerals like magnesium,
Hmm.
zinc. Oh my gosh, don't even talk to me about omega-3, because that's a huge one. But there's so many pieces of this, and we're using all of this metabolic energy because we don't have glasses. Nobody gave us glasses.
Yeah. And so your body is using it for that when when
Mhm.
I'd say should. I hate using the should is
I know,
another
I
one
know.
that I
I
don't
hear
like to
you.
use or like to use as well. But when your body, it's almost it's using it and as in that area when it could be using it for other areas of your life, like learning or, exercise or whatever. So, but it's kind of using, I'm not trying to use a metaphor because you just like inspired me to use a metaphor. I don't know why, because
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
please go ahead.
it's almost like using gas in traffic versus like using gas when you're like when you're actually going somewhere. It's like, I'm just wasting gas when I'm in I guess that you really can't control that either, but it's like you're just kind of wasting gas versus if you're actually like going somewhere and you're moving forward.
Oh, I love that. I'm going
Yeah.
to use that.
Okay,
I'm
go for I'm a
gonna
big
use that.
car. For some reason, I think in therapy, in my own therapy, and as a therapist in training, we're big on metaphors. Huge, I love
Mhm.
metaphors, but we use like a house a lot. But I always say like I like the car metaphor for people because life keeps on moving. And
Yeah.
how homes are great. Like I know I get the foundation and all that fun stuff and windows and but like and that's great for like boundaries of showing that. But for some reason I always go to cars with like life because I'm like life doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Like it just keeps moving forward and you do break down sometimes. Like you have to go I use the metaphor for like oil changes and like maintenance on your car. I'm like that's how we should start thinking about therapy and mental health and coaching. Like, I think people come, which I'm sure you experience this in your practice. People come to me and you as a, I think in like, they're like desperate for help. And I'm like, and I don't, again, I don't say like in sessions, I don't say this to people or in their first meeting, but I'm like, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, if we like, I get it. Like, but I'm like, this is not an emergency room. Like, I wish you would have came like when you were maybe just getting like the signals or that information before because that like we could have either prevented like a breakdown or we could have done a lot of work to get you to be more resilient because I think people just come to you when you're like they're really breaking down and I get it but I think that's a disservice to the model
Yes.
you know
Oh, I had, I think, full body chills like 3 times as you were talking.
Well, because
Uh,
I mean, if you think about it, I personally,
yeah.
I hope we live in a world one day, Amy, I hope we live in a world where we look at our mental health like our physical health and we all get quarterly. I don't think we need year annually. I know for body, for like your physical, you get a physical. I think we should get a mental. Like,
Yes.
why don't we have that? Like, like
Or
we should all like it doesn't matter if you're in therapy or not or whatever. We should all just get like a mental or like twice a year, get a mental.
but it should be, oh, I'm saying should.
Yeah, I know, right? I know we're catching
I
ourselves.
am always so conscious of that word and I always call it out on
Me too.
everyone. But
I'm very
here I
conscious of
am
that.
saying it. I'm going
Yeah.
to say it anyways
It's
because
okay.
I think
Yeah. No.
that's telling, right? So I think it should be that the brain is the body and that the
Yes.
mental is the physical. And I think this
100%.
is
The
like,
physiological. Yeah.
gosh, like, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, this is just how it was. And if you
Hmm.
look back to all of the philosophers, they talk about this connection. If you look at our physiological development in the womb, our gut
Yes.
and
Yes. Yes.
brain are
Are
connected,
connected. That's
are
why
like
there's that.
literally built together, and then they
That's why there's gut
separate
brain access. Yep.
through that vagus nerve, right? And vagal, like all of this stuff around the vagus nerve, and understanding this and how the gut and the brain are connected. It's as much, it is, there's no, you cannot separate the brain and the body. You
Yeah.
cannot. It is the same thing, but we have
Exactly.
been so conditioned. And this is
Hmm.
part of why I think neurodivergence, and ADHD especially, like this separation between the mind and the body has been so, I don't even know how to describe it, just dysregulating. That's not even the word,
Yeah.
right? For all of us. And I know we were talking too before this, about, this understanding and nutrition for me and for my son. He has to eat
Hmm.
constantly throughout the day.
Hmm.
That helps him emotionally regulate. If
Hmm.
he has dips in his blood sugar, this is like literally what I do is constantly, I'm like, where is your blood sugar tanking? And then really helping people understand the awareness, have this awareness between the imbalance of eating patterns and how often you eat,
Hmm.
maybe like your dip, especially a lot of us have that like afternoon dip,
Yep. That
how
like, yeah,
that
like 2, 3
correlates.
o'clock kind of, yeah,
Yes,
before
but
dinner
how
dip.
that correlates to mental health, and that sometimes when we just even things out throughout the day, and especially at the beginning of the day, that doesn't necessarily always happen, or those dips aren't as detrimental to
Mhm.
everything. So he eats, he has this little snack box it's just a little
Yeah.
bento box. And every single day, so we even have like a hot lunch program at our school.
Hmm.
And so he gets a hot lunch and he gets whatever he wants, and we switch it up
Yeah.
here and there. So he's got that. But even on that day, I will give him a full little bento box that has
Yeah.
all of the
Absolutely.
protein and fat and fiber and all the good things in it. And he opens it up on his desk and he just eats it all day.
Yeah.
But
That's
to
what he needs.
get to that
Oh.
point in the education system, there are some
Mm.
teachers who are, and this is me coming from my background in education, I
Yeah,
was a teacher.
absolutely.
And I always, and we weren't even allowed, like, this was like, you're not supposed to do this. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is where we break the rules. Cause like, I can't have my lovely grade sevens coming in after lunch because they had, I don't know, they were in whatever meeting it was for council or for sports and they literally couldn't eat their lunch or they couldn't finish it. And they're shoving it in their bag. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And then they can't regulate, they can't learn. I'm like, no, bring it in. I don't care what it is, bring it in. I will talk to you for 15 minutes about all of this stuff. You can eat then. And then we can, if you're not done, great. You can still go, but, or otherwise you put it away. That's fine too. I don't care. But like, please. I just, the lack of understanding around definitely blood sugar balance and learning and emotional regulation around learning. When a kid is jumping around the room or can't focus or it has to move and get up and move, they're regulating. If they have to move, that can be directly linked to their muscles need to move to pull some of the blood sugar, like to pull some of the energy
Mm.
into their cells. Their
Hmm.
body is telling them that into their cells, into their brain, into their muscles. That's why they need to move. I mean, it's one of the reasons, it's not the only,
Yeah.
but like, so why are we penalizing them for this. Like what? And so I had to really fight. Some teachers are great, some teachers are not, to change some of that culture around this.
Mm.
Because it's a physiological thing. It's not a, it's like so linked to the, like
A
just
hundred percent. Yeah,
yourself,
they're like, yeah, it's yeah, I
right?
think
Ugh, it's
I
so
had
frustrating. I'm
somebody
so passionate about
recently.
this, but it's
I
like
know,
so
no, I had somebody.
frustrating.
No, absolutely. I had somebody recently on the podcast, and he's an acupuncturist, and he was telling me, he was talking to me because I really don't know much about acupuncture, and he was telling me about Chinese medicine, and in Chinese medicine, there is no difference between the brain and the body. It's the same thing, and I'm like, well, no wonder why they're getting it all right over there. I'm like, no wonder why they have such a different approach to things that we do, or the Western medicine, because I'm like, they treat it like this, and it is. I'm like. I mean, I always tell people with feelings or signals, like you're, well, I think what you were, or was it you were saying something before? Oh, the how, right? Like logically,
Mhm.
we can know a lot of things. Like I can know, but it needs to, the how is more body. So you need both. It's like the yin and the yang. So yes, like I always say to people, like you can't think your way if you're having, if you're, I don't know, you can't think your way out of like a physiological thing, like anxiety. Like actually thinking was actually probably worse for your anxiety. I'm not even gonna lie, because I have anxiety.
Mhm.
So it's like it's almost even worse. So it's like, and our brains, they're very interesting. They're like they kind of trick you sometimes. So I sometimes feel like for me in my mental health journey, I used to always really lead with my like cognitive, but I've learned in the last couple of years to be more aware of my body, more aware of my nervous system state, the energy I get, the like kind of the read, like I can, if I get tense or if I'm calm, like that's, I use that more as a signal now than anything I think, because I'm like my brain is kind of sometimes can play tricks on you,
Yes.
you know?
And I think I love that you said that. So and I would love your, feedback on this too, but when we think about that, I always say that, or I think about it this way, is that it's not necessarily playing tricks, it's our brain it's designed to
Protect it.
protect
It's designed to
us,
protect us.
right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's designed, and that's an evolutionary thing. So like
Hmm.
300,000 years ago, right?
Hmm.
Your brain is designed to protect you
Yep.
from whatever the stimulus is, and that can be a saber-toothed tiger. I don't know if that's
Exactly. I say this all the
evolutionary
time to my clients.
appropriate,
Yep.
but like, right? So it's that fight, flight, freeze, fawn,
Yep. Go
all of
on.
the
Yep.
F's
Yep.
um thing that, but we get stuck in it, and then we don't, but the other piece of it is we don't move our body in the middle of it, and so our body doesn't know, there's no end, so it just stays, and that whole cycle keeps
Hmm.
going.
I don't know
But
if you ever
it's,
noticed this, but
yeah.
somebody told me, what have you noticed in animals like a deer, if they are like scared, they shake because that's them trying to release the fear.
Hmm.
And that's why like there's actually a book my one of my people at my internship said, and I think you would like it. I don't even and I haven't honestly haven't even read it, but I just like saw I like looked it up, but it's called Move Your DNA. Um and
Oh, I don't know.
it's about how, I mean, basically movement is medicine, and how, incorporating movement into your life could, like, just small movements, and how, we're too sedentary, and how, yeah, like we just need to, it's just science based, like how natural movement is good for wellness, basically. And I'm like, it makes sense. Like, obviously, like everything, right? I think it's a combination of diet, mental health, and then movement. Like, if you get
Mhm.
all, like, I think there was, I think it's like almost like it's like mental, physical, spiritual, like physical, like, yeah, I think it's a physical, there's one more, it's like almost, if you get those, like if you figure out what your pillars are and you
Yeah.
hit all of them, you're good. Well,
Hmm.
not good, you know what I mean, but you're better equipped to live in this crazy world we live in, as you said, that like
Yeah.
even, like, because I think if you think about it, like on top of just for you, and I love that like glasses metaphor for neurodivergent folks, and because it's, and then also you mentioned too that shame piece of like, why can't I do, like everybody else can do this? Why am I different? Why is it like, that's real? That's very real.
Yes. And I think that's especially in, all of the the population that I work with in terms of neurodivergence, that shame piece is the first thing that we
That
start
you
to
work
break down.
on. Yeah.
And the amount of people, and we were just talking about this too, that say sorry to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry
Not
for
yet. It's
what?
not like, yep.
No. And
Hmm.
we talk a lot about consistency and what that word actually means, because there I find that a lot of us apologize for, especially if you're thinking about nutrition or like trying to adhere to a diet or whatever that
Yeah.
is. And then we feel bad and we feel shame, like we just can't do the thing. And really sort of like digging into, but what's but consistency doesn't actually is not perfection. Those are two different words.
No. Yeah,
So
exactly. Yep.
consistency is you maybe, especially with who I work with, we really try to build in more, either eating more in the morning, or maybe sometimes it's like something I call a bridge snack. So we eat something and I tell them to make an appointment with themselves and put it in their calendar for 15 minutes. And then we figure out how to do that for them, what that might look like. But they have a snack at 3 p.m. every day and they can move it depending if they have meetings, but it's an appointment with themselves. And some days, great, like we might start off and we have these high hopes, and maybe the first week we do it like once and we feel terrible about ourselves because it's
Mm.
once. But maybe then the next week we do it twice, and maybe that week after we do it once again, and then maybe the week after we do it 3 times. Right, it's this like one step forward, two steps back, and we keep going. That is consistency. Once a week is consistency.
Yeah.
It's not about perfection. And I think this is where, this doesn't even apply to neurodivergent. I think this applies to
Just a
everyone, right?
general, yeah, in life,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
there's no such thing as perfect. And you're talking
No,
to a struggling perfection. I always say like a struggling perfectionist because I swear to God, and everybody asks me like I've done a lot of therapy on myself in this world. Like I've been in therapy for over 20 years and I've my and I ever was like, is it from, like your family? Did your, because a lot of times like people with that have like very strict parents or they want them to be perfect. I remember my mom telling me when I was like 3 or 4 years old that or if I could talk, I don't think I could talk at them, but probably 4 years old. My socks needed, and this isn't one on the outside. You know that line in your socks, like for your toes,
yes,
needed
I
to
know
be
it very
perfectly
well.
lined. I don't know if it was a sensory thing, but
Yes.
she was like, nobody can see them. And I'm like, no, but they have to be perfect on my toes. And like, I was just like that from a kid. It was very strange. Like, I was like, so like, I don't know why perfectionism is like built into me, but it's something I've been working on my whole adult life because it can be that pressure. Oof. It can,
I Yeah, I think that sounds to me like sensory
yeah, it's more
processing
sensory probably. It's
for
more
sure.
sensory probably. Yeah.
And then, and even in terms of like the perfectionism, the need for order can be a
Hmm.
sensory need. It can be a,
Oh, I'm like, don't hold 100%
right?
like that. I need like
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
needs to have its place. If
Mhm.
there's one little thing out of place, I get a little, it doesn't like impact me like I need to stop my day, but like I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't like that. I'm like, oh, that needs to be there.
Yes, but that's what actually has, and we dismiss this, and this is this brain body connection thing. I hate separating the two, but it's exactly that. It sends a signal to your brain that says something
Hmm.
is not
Not,
necessarily
yeah.
okay. There's something wrong. And so your stress hormones, your lovely adrenal glands, get the signal from your brain, that something is not quite right. And so there is a sense, there's a literal physiological response in your body that happens. And that can trigger so many different things. It can trigger, something with our mood or like our irritability. We can become more agitated. It can also trigger, again, these blood sugar dips. It can trigger
Mm,
cravings. It can trigger so many different things. Like it just imbalances. It's just like your body is saying something is not right. And your body is always trying to find homeostasis. So trying to
100%.
find balance. And so when
Yes.
we give it feedback that is imbalanced, it's always going to try to find balance through,
Hmm.
and it could be, and usually, especially in our culture, it's a stress hormone response. And we're all walking around 24/7 with this constant, like we're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, and some of us
I
aren't
say that
walking,
all the time with
right?
like, yeah, like the way
Mm.
our system would, and trust me, I love technology. I wouldn't be able to be talking to you right now if it
No,
wasn't
I
for
know.
technology. But actually, like I always say to people, this is how I've set boundaries in my life because it could get a little overwhelming with all the notifications on my phone. I think there's only three apps that I actually have that notification with like the red button or it can interrupt. It's
Mm.
calendar, calls, and like FaceTime. Like my text
Mm.
messages, I don't even like because I'm like I don't want to be consistently activated by this device. And now
Mhm.
that we have just access to everything, I say that to my client all the time. Everyone's like, "Oh," because I talk about like survival mode a lot, and I'm like, the system is designed to keep us in that activated state. That's why, honestly, that's why the wellness and the whole mindfulness movement is a billion-dollar industry because we're always activated.
Yeah.
And we weren't built to be dysregulated all the time. And that's why we wonder why there's such a mental health epidemic and all these things. I'm like, it's because we're not built for that. Like, of course, like, like we are built for it. We are resilient human beings, but it's hard when it's very difficult when you're caught up in it and you don't get take the chance to get to know yourself. And that's why I'm also a big, big, big I'm like the inner work girl. I'm like, something's going on outside of you. You need to look in. And I know it's
Mhm.
hard. I know it's very difficult. I've had to do my own, and it's very painful at times, and it's also very uncomfortable. But if you get a chance to get to know yourself, understand your body, how it works, life is always going to be hard. Get it? Let's be real, it's life, but you'll just be able to navigate it a little bit, a little bit better.
Yeah. How do we make it, how do we make life have a little bit more ease?
Exactly. And
I think that's what
and
we're doing,
experience the
right?
joy of it, right? Like it shouldn't
Yes.
always be like this
Yeah.
struggle and that's the goal. Like I always say, everybody's like, "Well, why do you do inner work?" I'm like, "For inner peace." Like I'm like that's the goal. Like to where you get to that point where not to say anything won't bother you. You don't want to be like totally numb to things, but like where like you just let like some things roll off and you're just
Mm.
like, I'm not gonna let this impact my peace today, and you choose your peace over anything else.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And to get to that point,
It
to
takes a
even
lot,
just
and
to
like
get there.
that's
That's
the hard part, right, Amy,
mm,
is like, and that's why like I'm so happy like you're a coach. Like I think I personally feel that like the especially with the world with just getting more fast and more complex, like coaching, like it's hard to do alone. You need to be very, very self-disciplined, which not many people are, let's be real, like to do this on your own. So there's like
yes.
no shame in asking for help. And I think that's where people get a little caught up sometimes. And I think I was talking before about like you come to people like when mental health, especially like it's like they're coming to therapy. It's like the last resort. I'm like, no, like therapy shouldn't be your last resort. It should like if you're like, of course I understand, go to the shop if your car is breaking down. But if you do consistent oil changes and you treat therapy as maintenance, you're never going to break down.
Yes.
You
That's
know,
exactly it, right? It's
if
this
you treat
walking beside
therapy,
you.
yeah, if you, and I'm not
Yes.
saying life happens, right? Like just because I get an oil change every month or sorry, not every month, but like every 5,000 miles doesn't prevent some person from hitting me. That's not like that, of course, but like
No.
at least your car is running and ready and you know what I mean? Like you're
Yep.
able to, but anything like that's why I love the car metaphor for life because it's so
Yeah.
appropriate for mental health specifically of how I view therapy and
Yeah.
just wellness. That's the whole goal is like this just being well and feeling good and living and experiencing what life has to offer and not feeling like, oh my gosh, like it's just so overwhelming all the time.
Yeah. And I like the car metaphor too because of the mechanics of it, like the actual,
Hmm.
I think of the mechanisms and the body systems that we have inside.
They
So
all
if
connect.
that,
Yep.
yes, like if we're being, intentional about, and I think with neurodivergence and ADHD in particular, something like eating regularly, putting fuel in our bodies regularly. And if you don't put fuel in your car, what happens to it?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then, but if we, and so we don't think of our bodies the same way we do our car. Like I get really nervous if I'm even close to the
Oh
empty.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like,
My
I
husband
remember
makes fun of
my
me all
mom
the
used to tell
time.
me like always fill up at like quarter
Yeah.
of a tank. Like, oh,
Me too. I
never
know.
have less than a quarter of a tank. God forbid you get like, in traffic and like they always said my parents would always say that. They were like, don't go below quarter of a tank.
And yes, and like especially, and I know you're in New Jersey too, but like, and especially with our winters, like we have to be
Oh yeah,
mindful
you get your heat, the
because
heat and yeah,
yeah, like we
it
got to make
runs
sure we
it.
always have Those
Absolutely.
of us who understand snow and
In the
that
winter,
stuff
oh, I
in
wish
the
I didn't
winter and all
sometimes.
of the things. But we don't think of our bodies that way. And we don't do the regular oil change. And that might, and again, that regular oil change it's about consistency over time. It's not about
Hmm.
doing it perfectly every day. And like, I don't, as soon as my oil change comes up and I know I'm supposed to do, it doesn't happen at that specific
Exactly. I'm
exact
just yeah,
moment,
like with the light when the light
right?
goes on, you're not like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
like no, it's more about how does this fit into my life? And I think that's where I love this. I love your use of metaphors. I think this is brilliant.
I could talk. It's so funny. Like
Oh,
I could talk in metaphors all day. Like I love everybody's like they're like Danielle, you're so good. And I'm like, yeah, because it's honestly like it's a very good therapeutic tool. We use it a lot
yeah.
in therapy because it's just nice to when it's relatable. You know what I mean? Like because
Hmm.
it's not always so yeah. Like I'm a big I could talk in like I was just sometimes like I'm always like, oh, there's a metaphor for this. I'm like I could come I'm like wait even like I'm like I need to come up with a metaphor because I just love it's just related yeah it's just relatable and it's
Yeah.
just a nice way to I don't know just give
Mhm.
information receive information. It just makes it easier to understand sometimes and because as we said like as I said like life is crazy and life is you know what I mean like you can be doing all the things right but you could still get hit by somebody who isn't paying
Yeah.
attention. It's not your fault. Like,
No.
it's not your
And
fault.
no, and I think that's a huge part of this, right? Is
Hmm.
it's not your fault and we can be as prepared as we want, but there's always going to be, and I'm thinking of this in terms of, let's say, anyone out there who struggles with like just I don't know, getting home from work or having a long day,
Yeah.
having to
Yeah.
like bake food or cook for other people or cook for themselves or do something, and you have literally nothing left. Like your tank is empty
Empty.
because
Yeah.
we didn't put gas in it or whatever it is in the morning or throughout the day so that we can end up in a place where we have enough left in order to do something. So, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. That can happen, and that can happen even for all of us who are even doing whatever we can to make sure that doesn't happen. It will happen because it's inevitable. What we
Hmm.
need to do is plan for those days, those exact days. Like, I don't want to say it sound negative, but planning for the lowest capacity day so that when our nervous system is at that point and we're like, oh my gosh, this has just been a day, we still have something in our fridge
Have
that we
something
can go,
left.
well, yeah, we
Yeah.
have, and we have a way, we have I'm big a fan of like meal assembly.
Yes.
I hate recipes. So meal assembly, putting things in the fridge in a place where we can actually see it, taking fruit and veggies that go to die in our drawers and putting them in front of us
Putting
so that
them, yeah, yeah, exactly. We're putting them
right,
out on a bowl, like on the
little things.
counter.
Yeah.
I'm
And
also
it's
too.
little things. It's
I don't know
little
how
things
you
like that.
feel about freezing, but I'm a big fan of freezing as well. I don't know
Yes.
if that's good or bad, but like I know my friend, she's like a mom, she has three kids, and she's like sometimes like when they're driving, they'll come home they know if like mom doesn't feel like cooking and doing a whole meal, like she always has like meatballs pre-made in the freezer. Like that's her like go-to if like she's just having a day, like or she's traveling or they're coming back from somewhere and the kids know too. They're like that's like meatball day if like they're doing a lot they're gonna have meatballs like they just know
That's brilliant. And I
and like
think,
she has that
yeah.
like that but that's like her plan like that's her like
Yep.
backup like as you said like have that plan for that like when you're at your lowest capacity because I'm a big I'm a big planning to fail is or failing to plan is planning to fail person but like sometimes it goes a little overboard because I have like I don't want not to be like overproductive but I'm a big planner everybody's like how do you do everything you do I'm like well because I can plan very well like I'm very good at planning I'm very good at time management um, that's just I'm just built like that. It just works for me. But um some days it's like, it like that could also be exhausting, planning so much and not good for your nervous system because it's almost like you're preparing for something that might not happen. So I'm not saying it's
Mhm.
always good.
No. And then when you plan, even when you plan, and then everything, there's
Goes a
it's
different way, yeah.
yeah, like you don't know what's going to happen during that day. And maybe you do. Maybe you get into, there's something that really derails whatever the plan
Yeah.
was. How do we make sure that your nervous system
Hmm.
stays in a place where we keep it accessible, like we keep our our brain online essentially so that
Yeah.
it doesn't get into that point. So planning for the low capacity days, really learning to tune into where am I capacity wise. So like
Mhm.
let's say it's I always call it like a level, or sometimes I call it doors. Like we have three doors. Our first
Mhm.
door is um it's one of those days, like literally it's a
Yeah, you're
meatball,
having a day.
right? Love it. You have, so we build a default meal, and I think that's great about this meatball
Yeah, yeah.
meal. That's called it, like I call it a default meal. And so
The default meal, yeah.
we build a couple of those, and then we put it into a default grocery list so that you
Hmm. Yeah,
always have,
you always have it on
yeah,
hand. Yep, yep.
always. So if you order your groceries, or if you, whatever it is you do, however, whatever your system is, we build it into your system. So it's always there, and
Mhm.
and you just took off a million decisions out of your brain.
Yes, yes. And
Whew,
and like
that's
also too
huge.
it's less intimidating because it's like you know how to do it. Like
Mhm.
pick something that you like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and you like, not some like this crazy like I don't even know like what you would do to like or like a crazy recipe that you want to try. It's like something that
Yes.
like you know how to do. It's kind of a staple, like your family likes it. Like
Yeah.
and yeah, like like that's yeah, I love that. Kind of build it into
Mhm.
your just yeah, your weekly
You
because
have
it's
it.
always just kind of like that's like your go-to when like, you're having
Yes.
a rough day. Because yeah, for sure.
And
I
it's
love
like,
it.
and it tells your, again, it's about this homeostasis, like the physiological piece. It tells your brain will be like, okay, but I always have this in the freezer. I know
It's like, yeah,
that.
it's your safety net. It's like you're
Yeah.
safe. It's almost like in an
Yeah.
action telling your like
Hmm.
your brain and your body like I'm safe, like I'm
I'm
regulated,
okay.
like
Yeah.
I'm
I
yeah,
don't
so
need to
that's
freak
another thing
out
I
and
could
be
talk about.
irritable. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, because I unfortunately like, and that's like I mean, talking about I don't want to get too far in a rabbit hole here, but like just like emotional safety and like I mean the world we live in is just so like nothing is safe anymore. Schools, your home. I mean, so it's we have to work that much harder to create this emotional safety and have us feel safe because at the end of the day, like that feeling that safety is like I mean it's priceless,
Hmm.
you
And
know.
I
And
think that's where, yes, sorry, I didn't mean to
no, no,
interrupt
no,
you.
no, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think that's where this idea of really like turning more inward in the work that you do too, and really starting to build awareness around where am I right now? Where is my
Hmm.
capacity? Is it door one where it's like meatball day? Is it door two where maybe I can do either meatballs and something else, or maybe something different, but we build around that. Maybe it's door three. Like door three for me never happens. Sometimes not even on the weekends, but unless
Where
it's
you're
like,
like have like the full capacity, you feel.
yes, and
Yeah.
I love to cook, but like my gosh, I'm not going to do it on a day that I'm capacity level one, door one. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
So,
absolutely. Like
and I
and you
think,
know yourself and your body because if you do that, you're gonna
yes.
burn out. You're gonna burn out. You might get
Mhm,
frustrated. You
mhm.
might end up, in door three for 3 more days. In burnout or
Mhm.
dysregulation for more time than you wanted. Because you're kind of like, you don't want to go that way.
Yes, and then, if you're always there, or if you're thinking like I should just be able, and I think this is where we have to deconstruct a lot of that in terms of the shame, especially for women, because a lot of us are the people in the house who make the food for everyone, right? Or for,
Yes,
or even
yes.
if you're just for yourself, if you're doing that for yourself, there's so much shame around like, but why can't I just do the thing?
Mm.
And sort of taking away some of that, like giving license, giving permission that it's okay if we have to switch our plan, or we have to move into, I'm not in that capacity level today, so I'm going to do this. And permission to do that is enormous for women,
Oh
especially.
yeah. I mean, being a mom, I'm
Yeah.
not a mom yet, like or running a household and a family, like that's why I always say like I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
No shame and like I mean like it's a lot. Like you have basically have I don't know how many jobs you have. I mean, as you're every position and I'm like everybody tells me I'm like I don't know who I am today. I'm like the accountant, I'm the CEO, I'm the janitor. I'm like I'm something every day. Like but that is why I give so much credit to mothers and and I think we live in a culture too. Actually, I just read on LinkedIn the other day that like there's more two income households and two parents working more than ever. I'm like, of course, because the economy is the way it is. It's just different times, but my point is like people I think in our culture kind of if you are able to be a stay-at-home mom it's like kind of frowned upon, but I'm like, that is a lot of work. Like planning meals, cooking meals, shopping, laundry. I'm like, that's all, it's a lot, handling kids and activities and drop-offs and pickups. And I'm like, so let's stop shaming that because it is a lot of work to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
nurture and nurturing other people and taking care of things like that we, as women, we kind of take on that responsibility in the home. So it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of, yeah, and I think what you said, like you have permission to design your own life. And if you're having an off day, it's more than it's okay to do a meatball night. It's okay to text your husband and be like, "Hey, you got to figure it out tonight." Like a guy, like
Yeah, I literally did that yesterday.
yeah, yeah,
It's one of those days. So
yeah,
yes, and that's wonderful. And building in those systems so that what we're just doing is supporting our nervous system, supporting our body, our physiology, right? To keep that stress response in a place that is not going to be one that is going to trigger or debilitate us in any way, especially in terms of our mental health.
correct.
Um, yeah, but I think that's, and I think I'm definitely overgeneralizing around women in this. Like, I think there's obviously so many
There's men
others.
too, yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
depending on the
And I think that's, it applies to everyone, but I
Oh
think
yeah.
just
Oh no, it
my own
applies to
perspective
everybody.
too. But I think it's, that's a huge expectation. And even just the shame around it, even from, I still am trying to break it down, even for myself on days that are really busy. Yesterday I even made like, and I totally messed up my own system around capacity because I had a million things on the list, and my youngest birthday is today, and we had all these things to do, and oh my gosh, so many appointments. And then I was like, yeah, I'll just make some salmon.
Mm-hmm.
What was I thinking? Like, and I just thought, yeah. So I did it. I made the salmon. I didn't even eat it. Like, I think I had one bite, and then I
Oh.
had to run out the door. But because it was sitting there yelling at me, because that's where I put it in the middle shelf, like, you need to make this. And I didn't get to it earlier. Like, it doesn't, we can have all the systems in place and they're always going to break down. So it's,
Yeah.
in that moment, if I were coaching myself, because I need a coach too, it would be more about like, well, how do we get
How
here?
did we get
Why did
here?
we
Yeah. How did we
feel
get here?
like that we needed to
Do all
still
these
make the
things.
salmon, even though I didn't have the capacity to? And so like that's where I would stop and break it down.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and I have a coach too. Like, we're all
Yeah.
working
So
on
do I.
this. So it's
I
more
have a
about,
coach and a therapist. I mean, we have a
yeah,
team
me
here.
too. Yeah, me too. So it's never going to be perfect. And I think the wonderful thing about the work that you're doing is talking it out loud. We're telling others. We're sharing our experiences as
Yes.
humans, and
Yes.
there's no one right way. But
No.
I think it's also building in some of these options for us in those moments, and developing that self-awareness, which I know is your work too, around, where am I right now? What's happening, and what can I do, and what is a non-negotiable, and how do I break down some of the shame around this?
Yeah, because I will say that so I think you'll like this, is you can't regulate what you don't recognize. You can't change what you refuse to see, and you can't truly connect with others if you have no idea what's going on inside yourself. So if you don't have any awareness is the first step that you need to do any of that. So you need to, I mean, that's just my humble opinion. You can chase
Oh,
whatever you want, but that's just my thing. Like we can't regulate emotions that we don't feel. So if you want to suppress them, great, but it's going to come out in another form. If we can't, if we want to change, you want to change your routine, you want to live better, you have to have awareness and you have to know your patterns, understand yourself a little bit.
mm. Oh,
It's just, I mean, that's just what I've learned. Mind you, as I said, do I live my life? I live my life in a certain way that I want to live it. It works for me. I mean, but you know, and then on top of that, then we get to like more of the coaching, which for that, what I do is more of like, once we get to like what you want to change, what you want to do, then we get to like core value making and aligning your values with your actions and making sure, because that's hard too. Like I actually just I had two experiences this week that were very hard. I'm not very I'll share with you. I'm really stepping into a very different phase of a growth phase of my life, and I had to unfortunately be very sh stern and set two very hard boundaries with people that I felt at the time were kind of not manipulating, but twisting my words and making me apologize for feeling a certain way. And I'm like, see, that's not cool. I don't care like if you want that's how you feel, but like I hate and actually somebody told me they're like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. And I'm like, that's not an apology to me. Like you're passing blame on me for something that you said, and then you're not taking any accountability for what you said. So that to me is not like even sorry. And then also too, like I'm allowed to have feelings. My feelings are valid. And even though you might not think they're valid to me. So that's my big I guess we'll call it trigger is like if you can't like I don't expect you to understand me, but if you can't recognize that I have feelings and that they're going to come out sometimes, then yeah, this it's just I can't have you in my life. I know that sounds really, really bad and really cutthroat, but it's like feelings matter,
Yes.
you know?
And and it doesn't sound bad to me at all. I think it's just boundaries. I think you're setting, right?
Yes.
You
Oh,
said
yes.
this
Yeah.
earlier
Yeah.
too, right? You're
Boundaries.
but I think it takes us a lot of us, and I if I think about it, into especially in terms of the neurodivergent community, we've spent our entire lives often masking a lot of this, like hiding it, not showing it, because we think that's like we just want to make sure that we're moving through the world the way that everyone else does. And that so we spend a lot of time burying, hiding, not voicing, trying to make sure everyone else feels okay before we do. We don't even know what half the time what we're feeling because our concentration is usually on how do we make everyone else feel okay in the situation, and then I can then follow suit, or like what are they doing. And it's so much, and this is where I talked about like burning through those nutrients, you don't have to be neurodivergent to do this, right? But I think the toll on our systems, if you are, is physiologically, it has a huge toll on us um, in that
Yeah.
way. But for anyone, it does, right? Uh, so I think that's where a lot of this, what you just said, is exactly it, and setting those boundaries and being able
Oh,
to go through
boundaries.
and
Yep.
do that.
I'm actually it's just so funny. Like I think that's
So much.
yeah,
It's so
it's
hard
so
to do
important.
that.
Yeah, there's that once again, there's that like guilt piece of oh,
Yeah.
like you know, but like at the end of the day, I always say like you need to like going back to peace, you need to protect your peace. And
Mhm.
you work in a field, I work in a field that's very people driven. It's very personal, and I need to be at my best self, and so do you. And sometimes, some days I'm not. I'm not gonna lie. I'm only human. But anything that detriments that, then detriments me, and then potentially the work with a client of mine. So if you put me in that situation, it's very hard, difficult for me to have you in my life, and or I said yeah, that boundary just needs to be set. It's like but boundaries are also unfortunately talk about work. They're work too.
Yeah.
It's a learned skill. It's not like we don't. It's something you learn through life. I feel.
Yes.
At least I'm learning, and I'm every year I feel like I'm getting a little bit better at it, a little bit better at it. But it when you've never set a boundary before, it feels so uncomfortable, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I'm being mean or I feel like I'm being rude, and it's like there's a very powerful sentence that you can say to anybody at any time, and that sentence is no. It's one word. Just say no,
Hmm.
you know?
Especially if you feel that no in your body, like, and we mute that often, right? Because we feel like we need to be the yes person, or we
Yep.
should just go along to make everyone else happy, or to whatever it is, not have friction or not have conflict of some sort, right?
Yeah.
It's so profound in that sense. And I think that's so powerful, this idea. And I had another thought and it's left my brain,
It's
but
all
you keep
good.
going.
It's all good, but no, at least Amy, this has been just such. I would love to have you back on talk. I mean, I could talk to you. I literally could talk to you all day. Like I
I
could
know,
talk
me too.
till
Me too.
forever. But thank you so much for coming on. Like this is such a value. We hit so many amazing points. And thank you just so much for being here. And also too, what is the best way to for people to get in touch with you? Because I know you have your website, correct? Amy, like is
Mm.
it I'm sorry?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no,
Amy
it's
Jones
okay.
Nutrition.
AmyJonesNutrition.com. But what is I know there's that contact right on top of it. You can like email, you have a form. But is there a specific, is that how the best way for people to reach you is through your website or through Instagram? I know you're on all the socials as well.
Yeah, I'm on all the socials. I think Instagram is kind of like my major sort of hub. So you can
Hmm.
DM me there. It's just at Amy Jones Nutrition. And then my website too, you can contact me that way. My email is there. Like you can just contact me in whatever way is easiest.
Awesome.
Always
Cool.
trying
And
to
I'll have that information in the show notes as well for everybody, so you can contact
amazing.
me. Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And as per usual, you can find the Feeling and Healing podcast on YouTube as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify.